Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Boruto Naruto Next Generation's episode 99. When we last left off, we started a new arc as our heroes met Tosaka, a bird expert who ends up being their bird specialist on a mission with Team 15. There's some birds acting up in some village. They're going to go find out why. And when they get there, they find out the bird victims are getting curse marks. The birds have curse marks, and Ju goes around attacking people. He attacks Boruto and Sarada by episode's end. That's where we left off. So before we go any further, just a reminder, I have my Spring 2019 anime review straw poll in the description down below. The spring season is starting in a week, so go fill that out. Let me know what you want to see. Now let's jump right on into the episode. So once again, I mentioned last week how it was nice that we saw how outmatched Boruto was by a fully powered up Jugo. And we see that again here, as even before the opening, he's Boruto and Sarada are trying to run away, and he jumps right in front of them. You're oh, nope, not doing that. So that's good to see. Then we get to the episode's highlight, and that is Konohamaru versus Jugo. It's just a nice, intense, well-animated fight sequence with Konohamaru. That almost never happens. Honestly, with the way Konohamaru has become the butt monkey of the fandom, he fucking deserves this. He gets out of it so much. And honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and declare this as Konohamaru's greatest moment since Pain. Not that he's had much to do since then, but it's not quite as good as Pain. I'm not gonna lie, the Pain moment was great. But this was pretty fucking badass. Utilizing the fact that he's been caught by Jugo to get in a powerful Rasengan, it is nice to have you back, cool Konohamaru. Of course, this ends up coming with the reveal that Konohamaru, after his battle with Jugo, is injured to the point that he's out of action for the next 4 or 5 days, which is probably the rest of the arc. So it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back with Konohamaru, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because he could have been really cool this arc, but he's out of it again. Whatevs. Moving on. So last week I kind of criticized the show for trying to make the monster's identity a mystery. But the mysteries this episode is asking, what Jugo is doing in town and what exactly is up with the birds, are much more interesting. And by the end of the episode, we do find out that Jugo and the birds are unrelated. They have completely different curse marks. And that Jugo... My theory is still that he came here to fix the infected birds. That hasn't been directly confirmed, but it's pretty obvious at this point that's what he's here for. Also, I'm theorizing that Tosaka has a throwaway line early on that the wild leaf geese that they're called are going extinct. My theory is that the curse mark is responsible for that. We don't have any evidence for that yet, but that's just my working theory. One thing I'm really, really loving about this arc, is the thing that no one really remembers about Jugo is his, deep love of wildlife. And I'm glad that's important to this arc. That's an important part of his character that's never really brought up when Jugo is brought up at all, which is not terribly often because Taka got the short end of the stick by the end of Naruto. But I'm glad we're spending time with Jugo at all. But also I'm glad we're bringing up that part of his personality. Unfortunately, though, Team 15 is sent home, which is a damn shame. By episode's end, I'll talk about that later. There is some hope that they'll be still be important. But for a good while there, it looked like we had brought in Team 15 just to, send them home. And I was hoping this arc would be their big break. Given how little they've really done outside of one-shots, besides Sumire, who was the villain of the first arc. But now that they've met the villains, I'm actually a little worried about that. I'll go ahead and jump on that now. So the fact when they meet the villains that seem to have full control over the curse mark, whether or not they're the source of it and their little neck things is yet unknown. When that happens, the fight that's at sunset. And then they're about to square off, and then we cut to that night with Boruto and Team 7 and Jugo and the Land of Rivers guy, who I'll get to in a little bit. And hopefully that's not a sign that they were just beat off screen and then Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki can come in and save the day. I really want some development with them Especially given that the couple episodes before this one was all about them, and hopefully that development will pay off in this arc, if we're lucky. Even if they lose, I just want to, like, see their fight, okay? They deserve a full fight with, like, a main villain. Or not even a main villain, like, even a side villain is fine. Just an arc villain. But we'll have to wait till next week, before we get any more answers on that. Now we need to come back to, Boruto and Jugo. So first, Jugo's all like, get out of here, you can't help. And Boruto's like, fine, do what you want, but we can do what we want too, and we want to help you. And that's pretty rote, at least, I will say. It's not exactly the most interesting, argument. But it does get Jugo to let them be around him and to start answering their questions. Jugo is really standoffish after the whole kunai and the bird incident, we saw earlier in the episode. But by the end of the episode, Jugo's gone crazy again, and Boruto gets to apply a much more believable tactic, I'd say, with his argument that, like, if Jugo goes crazy, no one will save the birds, and so you need us. That's a much better way. That's much smarter and makes more sense given Jugo's character. Jugo's whole primary goal here is to save the birds, and he can't do that if he's a crazy maniac who's killing anyone in sight. So that's a smart move on Boruto's, and I'm glad that ended up being what finally got Jugo to just, like, fully be with them. Now, we need to talk about that Land of Rivers guy. So I'm really curious about him. So, it's clear that he is not the person he claims to be to Boruto by episode's end, of course, because we see him, he's tracking Jugo, and he's in contact with somebody. I don't know what exactly his deal is. Like, we know he's after Jugo, so is he just completely lying about the birds? Is he actually the one responsible for the birds? He's clearly not the head honcho, but is he part of that organization? I mean, is he working with the kids who are attacking Team 15? Or is he just after Jugo for some other reason, and that he sees that Team 7 are talking about the birds, like, oh yeah, we're after the birds too. Yep, absolutely. I'm leaning more towards he's a part of the green-haired kids, but that remains to be seen. And I think that's really all I have for this episode. This was a pretty meaty episode, so I'm surprised I got through it so fast. So yeah, this episode was a step up from last week, which was not a bad episode by any means. The mystery's more engaging than who is Jugo. We have plenty of villains putting a spanner in the works, though how much they're allied is still unclear, of course. And we had a kick-ass Konohamaru fight. Fuck yes. You know, I am upset that they gave Konohamaru that fight just to put him out of commission for the rest of the arc, but, well, you can't win them all. Next time, the arc seems to be settling on a central theme of fate versus free will that's kind of been brought up before, which was something Naruto is very fond of as well, so let's see where the arc takes that. But that's all I have for this week's video. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, or subscribe, or fill out my straw poll down below, please. Or, you know, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!